Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast from Fantasy Football Hub on this Sunday evening, actually, not afternoon, after a full weekend of FA Cup. It feels quite strange to be here on a Sunday evening, but yeah, FA Cup madness over the weekend. We've just watched Arsenal United, superb game of football. We've just watched the draw as well. And now the heads turn very, very sharply back to FPL, which I don't know about you, Rich, but I'm finding it quite difficult just to turn my head back after a crazy week of Carabao semi-finals, FA Cup third round matches. And all of a sudden, you've got to remember what happened all that kind of time 10 days ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
my name is Fergi, and I'm here as usual with the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow all the way back, as we say, in Gameweek 20?
Yeah. I'm very well. Good evening, everybody. Another green arrow. So I think that's 5 in a row. An extraordinary week for me personally. Didn't own Mbermo. I think my ranked tier was about 44% owned or something. You know, crazy ownership for Mbermo, who returned a 19-pointer. So to come out with a green arrow when I didn't own Mbermo, you have to say was a great result.
Absolutely.
I've got a full house in terms of attacking returns. Everybody in my front seven returned. Defense didn't do much, but all the attackers did. And my transfers worked out absolutely perfectly. So I did what I said I'd do on the stream and brought in Jimenez for Cunha and Anthony Gordon for Enzo. And they got me 20 points straight away. And obviously I think that's 3 penalties in 2 weeks for Jimenez. He's obviously first choice now for Fulham and also contributing very well when he's not getting penalties, but very happy to have Raul. And Gordon's right there to support Isak ahead of Newcastle's run. So feeling really buoyant about my team, and we'll have a look at it, how it sets up later on. But yeah, feeling really good. I'm still not catching you though. You're every gain I make, you seem to match it or exceed it, mate. So how did you get on?
I had a green as well. Just to touch on yours though first, Rich. Like I've got my eye on maybe between 2 and 4 or maybe even 5 players who I really want to get in on next week, and you've got them all already. I don't know how you've managed to do it. All your years' experience and your class as a manager, but it's probably fair to say maybe 4 weeks ago you were having a tough time, weren't you? And you couldn't quite get sort of buoyant, never mind sort of ahead of the curve. But your team now, mate, is looking absolutely sensational, and yeah, really looking forward to having a chat later about how you're going to attack the next few weeks, because you've got players in like Bruno, Munoz, Hall, Gordon, Jimenez, all players like this who are on everyone's wish lists, and you've already got them as well as everyone else. So really, really well played, mate. Really, really pleased.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm really glad the way it's kind of fallen. I just had to show a bit of patience with Bruno after he was sent off, and I've had Lewis Hall for a while, and obviously Munoz was you don't often make an extra defensive transfer, but managed to do that the other week, and haven't had any returns yet. But
you'll come good,
optimistic
mate.
there. Yeah, I think it'll come good. So yeah, I am feeling good about it, but the last time I felt this good about the team was when we wildcarded in game week 6.
Absolutely. So, we know what happened there.
We know what happened then. You always like your team when you wildcard,
when we trebled our rank.
Exactly, mate.
Yeah, no, I had a really good week as well. 76 points, nothing to shout about at the back. Palmer. I also had a clean sweep up front. João Pedro, Isak, and Wood. But I did have a few blankers. But yeah, Brian and Bomo, I mean, to think, Rich, I nearly took him out 4 weeks ago. And since then, I think, I'm not sure exactly, I haven't got it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he's had like 3 double figure hauls in the 4 weeks. And that's the kind of move I would have made over the years. And just holding on to him has completely transformed my season. I've halved my rank. Well, more than halved it from 1.3 mil to 516k now, and yeah, just really, really enjoying. Just before we say hello to the chat, I'll just run through my Chat GPT poetic recap of Game Week 21. The front line sparkled. They all returned. Each striker's points were duly earned. A trio of triumph. They led the way, setting the tone for a fruitful day. In midfield's ranks, Salah struck gold. Palmer delivered, so calm, so bold. But Mbuemo's magic stole the show with 19 points. His star did glow. Defence, alas, was a sorry tale. No joy to find, no plan to prevail. A dreadful showing, a week to forget. But 6 green arrows keep hope well set. With planning ahead, the future looks bright. Chips and transfers to get things right. Game week 22 calls decisions to make. Will the streak live on? What risks will you take? And that is the kind of what we're going to be talking about, Rich, this week, is moving forward now, because we've got a bit of information, haven't we now? Not a lot, but we've got a bit of information for which starts to make, game week 24, 25, Liverpool, Everton, game week 29 in terms of the blanks there. Potentially even looking forward now to game week 33, 34 with some of the FA Cup results. We've got tidbits, so we're not going to go all in, I don't think yet, because we're going to leave that a week or two and probably get some guests on as well, who will have sort of different views, but we'll certainly touch on those. But welcome everyone in the chat for joining us on this Sunday evening. Atletico Timbo is in. Happy New Year, he says. I'm 1974, says, now Sand has left the building. I hope to see green arrows. Merseyside as red is in. Colin Johnston says, big week ahead. Absolutely. G. Davidson says, Happy New Year. Craig says, hold on a Sunday. Epic. Yeah, this is the first time we've done it on a Sunday for a long, long time, but obviously the deadline is not till Tuesday, so I wanted to make sure we had all the up-to-date information. Andrew Savage, Harry Dawson, Danish Rijwani. Craig said, thank God I had my YouTube notifications on. Absolutely. If you do subscribe, make sure you've got notifications on. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, make sure you do. Chris Woodstock is in, says, what a nice surprise. Immortal Technique, and so many more. Clear FPL, Heather is in. Superb. Great to see you always. Oliver, so Viva Hub Ultras, and David Tilstone is in, as well as Colin Johnston. Great to have you all in with us. So two big greens, Rich. We're doing pretty well. Just before we look ahead, if you're not a Fantasy Football Hub member yet, it was Green Friday, and then it was Christmas. It's New Year at the moment, but we've only got about 48 hours left for 30-day free trial for Fantasy Football Hub. It is going to expire at the Game Week 21 deadline. So if you want to use the full power of Fantasy Football Hub, you can now do so for 30 days free, but you've got to be quick. Only 48 hours left before it goes back down to 7 days free. This includes all our My Team features, including recommended transfers, predicted points through AI, dedicated WhatsApp groups for pro members, and so much more. It's all on the app as well. An absolute no-brainer if you want to do well at FPL. Free for 30 days, just 2 days left to get that. So do it. It's absolutely worth it. And we're going to show a new feature, which we've got on site in a second. And we've also got another new feature coming soon, which is absolutely going to blow your mind. So get it. 30 days free trial before Tuesday evening. If not, you'll be very, very disappointed. Let's look at the fixtures, Rich, for the coming few weeks. So we've got game week 21 to 24. Top of the shop, and there's a reason Everton and Liverpool are top, as you can see right on the end then. So a new feature we've got on Fantasy Football Hub now is Ben Crellin's predicted fixtures are now integrated within the site. So they're within the fixture ticker, they're within predicted points, they are within My Team. So I'll just show this quickly, but if you hover over the second fixture there on predicted fixtures, you will get some information. So just as an example, Everton versus Liverpool is added in as a predicted fixture with a 45% chance of happening in game week 24, but that means that it's also built into everything to do with the site. So whenever you put your team in, it will all be taken into account. So make sure you get your team, import your team into Fantasy Football Hub, and it will basically give you some really good advice and indications on what to do with your team. But Everton and Liverpool, they've got 3 at home in the next 4. Sorry, Everton have, Liverpool haven't. Newcastle, 3 at home in the next 4. United, 3 at home in the next 4. Chelsea, 3 at home in the next 4. Forest, 3 at home in the next 4 as well as Ipswich, as well as Arsenal. So there's some real opportunity here, Rich, in it, to get stuck in. Right down the bottom, Bournemouth's fixtures take a turn for the worse. What a stinking run. Away to Chelsea, away to Newcastle, home to Forest, home to Liverpool and Man City. So even though they're away to Brentford, away to Ipswich next, which may be pretty good fixtures, they do then run into Chelsea and Arsenal as well, and Wolves and Villa quite low as well. But Rich, what's your overarching thoughts on the coming weeks fixture-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've obviously been looking at this for a while with a view to setting up for this period. I think most people probably will think this at the moment, but it does depend on the health of your team. Very easy for me to say if I'm happy with my team,
Of course.
that I'm going to save transfers. But I do believe this is a very, very good time to save transfers if you can, rather than be tempted to make, let's say, luxury moves. Sure,
Yeah.
if you've got an injured player or a suspended player or someone really right down the bottom of that ticker, then by all means move them on to one of these guys we're going to talk about with favourable fixtures. But honestly, when we get the confirmation of the EFL Cup finalists, when we get a confirmation of the double game week, when we start taking seriously the blank in game week 29, and obviously you've got a free hit, but some people will want to save that free hit for a double game week. So we're going to want those transfers. We're going to really need those transfers when we get into the mid-20s fixtures. And so 2 or 3 saved in the next 3 to 4 weeks would be really good play, patient play. And I think if we go back to the ticker, it's teams like Newcastle, Man United, Liverpool, obviously with the double game week coming, Forest, unbelievable form team. You've got very good teams right up the top of the table with 3 home games in 4. It doesn't get any better than that, and they're all pretty favourable fixtures as well. Most of them are not difficult fixtures. So these are the guys we've got to load up on. Or have in our teams already, and it just lends itself, I think, to being patient and allowing those fixtures to execute, and come into game week 24 or 25 with 3 or 4 transfers in the bank. That's really would be my advice. But looking at the fixtures, I really like Newcastle. I think they look great. Captainable fixture this week if you want to go all in with Wolves. Really like their fixtures. Great home games. I think I'm struggling to see the ticker. Can you read out their 4 games?
Newcastle home to Wolves, home to Bournemouth, away to Southampton, home to Fulham. They're pretty good. They're pretty good, and
the away game's quite tasty, isn't it?
Quite tasty.
Yeah, and I think now opinions on Manchester United, obviously over the last 2 games, having gone away to Liverpool and got a very deserved result, and to beat Arsenal, knock them out of the cup today. Bruno Fernandes looks fantastic, and they look like they've got a new lease of life. So maybe now is the time to invest in Man United or invest back into Man United, and they're not highly owned, their players. So you're going to be getting some precious differentials, I think, or some low owned players that will help you climb the ranks if you are chasing. So yeah, really like United's games. Not sure on Chelsea. Still think they're a bit iffy in terms of performance. I know they won 5-0 in the cup yesterday, but they were playing Morecambe and can't really read a lot into that. But yeah, Chelsea are okay. Forest are unbelievable. I think I sent you some stats on Chris Wood's overperformance. There's just about every player in the game's overperforming on expected goals, but the guy just keeps on scoring, doesn't he? And incredible. Plus their defense is elite, absolutely fantastic. So Forest, again, it's not too late to invest in Forest, especially now they've got some of these tougher fixtures turning. So it's good.
And just in terms of Everton and Liverpool, so as it stands, Ben Crellin has predicted them roughly, a 45% chance of them doubling in 24, a 45% chance of 25, and a kind of small chance of it dropping elsewhere. Liverpool obviously look really, really strong. Next couple of fixtures aren't the easiest. Away to Forest, as we know. Top of the table clash. Very, very tough fixture. Away to Brentford's all right. And then they've got a spanking fixture in 23. And then they could double in 23. In 24 or 25. Everton, obviously, Moyes is back. We don't know what that kind of means. I'm assuming he's going to try and consolidate. Well, I don't know. Is he going to try and get him scoring? Is he going to try and make him harder to beat than they already are and get even more nils than they've been getting already? I don't know. But their fixtures for the next 3 are not very nice. I've got Pickford. I'm not overly keen, but I've got him in now, so I'll leave him in there for the double. But we just mentioned about Newcastle United. Forest in particular, Newcastle United, they've got some players. I was really impressed with Ahmad when he came on as well. Just the last, wherever it was, 20 minutes, half hour, looked incredibly dangerous. Really think he's a good starting playable option in these, in these in these matches as well. Newcastle looks superb. They've got some incredible options as well. But where do you find the balance with Everton, Liverpool, and this double? We probably got two. I'm trying to give like the average, maybe one or two Liverpool players at the moment, maybe an Everton player, maybe not. How soon is it before we start to think about 24? Do you want 4 or 5 of these players? Or
I don't think I mean, I've got Mikalenko sort of sitting as my
yeah,
fifth defender. I'm obviously not going to sell him just because I'm going to keep him
yeah,
for the double game week. But I'm not sure where else I'd go.
mm,
Pickford probably was the pick as the keeper a few weeks ago. I'm
yeah,
not sure he's the pick
no,
now with a new manager, but he's still fine, isn't he? And he doesn't, he does allow you to bench him if you have another keeper. So maybe Pickford. I certainly wouldn't have an Everton attacker. I think the key move is really to whether or not you double in Liverpool's defence or you go for someone like Gakpo, but make that decision very near the deadline of 24 or 25, so you've got an idea on the rotation really and the injury situation. I would say, I think going for a Liverpool attacker, I think people who went for Diaz a couple of weeks back are already selling him again because he's been
yeah,
benched and they just don't like it. That's just going to continue, isn't it? That Jota, Gakpo, Diaz, you go there. Are you going to get 2 starts out of anyone other than
this is
Salah?
it.
That's the key thing. So I wouldn't buy a Liverpool player or an Everton player until the week before the double,
Yeah,
whenever it will
yeah,
be. But I wouldn't start stacking them. I'd just go into Newcastle, Palace, or United assets. I think right now, just because of the fixtures.
I think so.
So if you are ultra cautious, then you've got to be careful with how many Newcastle and Palace assets you have now because of the EFL Cup final. So Newcastle, I think you've got the percentage coming in a minute,
We
haven't you?
will.
Newcastle, something like over 80% chance of getting to the final now, and that would cause Newcastle and Palace to blank. So if you've got 6 players from Palace and Newcastle in your team, you're going to have to start offloading them pretty quickly.
And just to add into that as well, which I thought you were going to mention, you need to be careful because the assistant manager chip becomes available in game week 24 as well. And if you want Arnie Slot or David
Yeah.
Moyes, you can't max out on those either, and you need some budget.
Correct.
We're gonna touch on those in a minute, but yeah, some really interesting interesting things there. Justin says Moyes is on the phone to Fellaini as we speak. And Mohit just commented, this Mela Sarr fails again in the FA Cup this time. What a horrible pick for FPL managers. Yeah, interesting one there. So game week 1 transfer targets. Rich, you sent me over 5 players, and I couldn't help but notice that you've got 3 of them already, and they're probably the 3 that you would want as well out of the 5. Do you just want to run through the specific players you're kind of looking at ahead of this
Well,
week?
I think obviously Anthony Gordon. We featured him last
Yeah,
week. I think on this slide we featured Mbermo on this slide last
did.
week. So it doesn't make them bad picks. We've just assumed that everyone has watching or listening probably has Isak already. Apologies if you don't get Isak. But we like to feature different faces each week. So I picked out 5 here, or you've picked out a couple yourself, and obviously Newcastle have that great run ahead. And if you haven't already got Lewis Hall in, he looks a
He
fantastic
does. He
pick for
really
the
does.
upcoming weeks in defence. I think it's 4.9 now. He may rise before Tuesday to 5 million, but he's worth that. And his stats are great. And Jacob Murphy again in that budget enabler bracket where he's competing with Rogers and Ahmad and maybe Enzo. He's priced in that sort of 5 to 5. I don't know his exact price, 5.2, maybe 5.3, something like that. Again, his stats are off the charts. They're almost as good or if not better than Anthony Gordon's. So if you haven't quite got the money to stretch to a Gordon, then and you want that supplementary attacker to make the Newcastle points more meaningful because Isak's kind of neutralised in the game really. Murphy's a great pick. So right at the front though, gets criticised a lot in FPL, has had a lot of criticism and laughter at him this season. But Bruno Fernandes is right in the foreground there. I think
Absolutely,
we've
mate.
got to talk about Bruno. 2 fantastic performances really against Liverpool and Arsenal, and now Southampton at home this week.
Do you think he's a
So
captaincy option, Rich?
I think he is. I think Will put out a tweet saying tempting. I think earlier this week,
Mm.
and I think it is tempting if you've got to be brave, but because a lot of people don't own him, so you're almost getting double, triple captaincy points by the fact that a lot of people won't go there because they'll just hold and Burmo, won't they? They'll hold a Burmo in that slot, and Bruno is in for people who don't have Alan Burmo or could come in for that third mid slot. And he's a differential in his own right. But if you captain him and he goes off against Southampton, which he could do, and pretty much everyone's going off against Southampton at the moment, aren't they? When they play them, could be gold. I haven't written it off. I just don't think I'm brave enough.
What do you, if you held Mbeumo, bear in mind their fixtures, Brentford's fixtures over the next 3 or 4 are definitely a bit tougher than they have been. Let's just have a quick look. So Brentford have got their home to City, home to Liverpool, away to Palace over the next 3, and then home to Spurs. So 3, on paper, tough home games, but definitely City and Spurs have definitely shown fragility. Palace have shown fragility, and Liverpool didn't look great against Spurs or last week against United either. Would you be holding Mbeumo or moving on to Bruno?
I think if I'd picked him up earlier in the season at sort of 7 million or early sevens, I'd hold him. I think he must be up pushing 8 million now. Is he
7.8?
7, 8,
I think he is. Yeah,
yeah,
or 7.8. Sorry, I've got his
yeah,
selling value.
yeah,
His selling value at 7.8.
yeah. So I think I'd hold him just as he's just too good a fantasy asset, and you've got to ride out the Southampton game. I mean, I thought about getting him back, but because of the fixtures, and I'm predominantly a fixtures manager, I've just held Bruno in there and didn't switch it back. So I think now you've got to let the Bruno owners have their day against Southampton. If you've got
I like
that 500,000 in the bank that you can make the bridge, it's tempting to do it, and you will see. I think you'll see him rise in price by Tuesday. You'll see a lot of people bringing in Bruno this week. But I would hold Mbeumo if I owned him. Is to answer your question.
Could get Ahmad, because I do feel Ahmad looks really good as an option, and it looks like when he's fit, he's
selling Rodgers for that.
Probably Ismail Assar, I think. But
okay,
we'll talk about my
he hasn't really lit it up, Sarr, yet, has he? But he could do.
Well, he got Leicester away, and then someone at West Ham away the week after. But it's just the stick or twist thing. We're not sure, are we? But
I think I'd rather do Sarr to Ahmad than Burma to Bruno.
Yeah,
I think that's more sensible.
But yeah, so some interesting picks. We've also got Kanate on here as well, who's I don't know how much he is. Is he 5.2? I think he was just before he got injured. I don't know how much he is.
Yeah, Kanate's a good pick. I think tell you what, you'll see Kanate coming in, as I think you'll see people who are going to play their assistant managership. You'll see them maybe do. I mean, they might do Trent to Kanate and to fund the 1.5 for slot. Because you'll still have Liverpool defensive cover for the double game week. Yeah. You'll generate enough capital to bring Slot in as the assistant manager, and then you'll get the money back. And especially with these kind of slight doubts over Trent's starts now, and although he answered those critics with an absolute screamer, didn't he, in the cup yesterday? So I don't think I'll be selling Trent, but you might see Kanate coming in instead of Trent, or you might see Kanate coming in to double up on that Liverpool defence, ready for the double game week. So, yeah, I like Kanate. Should hold down his place as we move towards the double. And Jimenez sneaks in. I wasn't sure you'd go because I gave you a short list. I wasn't sure you'd put Jimenez up there, but beyond Wood and Isak, who is the third striker? João Pedro's got a bit of an injury, so maybe now if you want the budget striker, Jimenez is the one you go for. But I'm struggling to think of an immediate striker that I would have as a third option. Can you think of anybody?
Not really. No. Again, just look at predicted points now next. Just looking at the teams we just mentioned earlier. Newcastle, United. You're not going to go for your Højlund or anything like that, are you? Wood, We mentioned Wood.
Yeah, well, Wood. I mean, I think Wood is clearly, if you haven't got him, and I went to Jimenez instead of Wood, but yeah, Wood is still a great option, but he's got those two. He's got Liverpool this week, so he's not really
He's on to Southampton next week.
21 target, is he?
He's on to Southampton next week.
Yeah, so he'll be on this. He'll be on this
sheet
sheet next week.
Yeah,
he'll definitely be on it next week. So yeah, Wood Jimenez, Isak looks a nice. You know, if you're wild carding, you'd probably go for that right now. Or Pedro, if he's going to be okay. I think Pedro just tweeted. I think he's had a scan, but he said it's okay.
He said it's okay.
So,
I think.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to start. No. It just means he's not badly injured. No. So
ease it might actually ease a benching headache. And as Justin just put in the chat as well, actually, Danny Welbeck was back in training towards the back end of last week as well. So that may impact his minutes. Just looking at predicted points now from fantasyfootballhub.co.uk for the next few weeks. Don't forget, this does include the potential extra points from predicted fixtures for game week 24 and 25. But Salah top 31.4, Palmer second 30.4, Isak third 28, Haaland. Cunha is top of the forwards for the next few. The forgotten man. He was absolutely on fire, wasn't he? So you mentioned about potentially who to look for. Fixtures are not great at all, actually. Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal and Villa, 4 really tough games. But he was on fire, wasn't he? Just he was playing against everyone.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't attract some bids from other clubs by the end of January. Yeah. We could see him on the move for quite a sum, I imagine, and then he'll be worth considering.
Woods 21, Bruno 20, Gordon 20, Trent 20. Havertz is another forward. Arsenal's fixtures are okay, but he missed that. Do you see that chance he missed earlier? He knocked over the bar from like 4 yards out or whatever. Just doesn't really look kind of. I don't think I'd be too enamoured having him in my team. Arsenal just don't look.
Well, Jesus went off injured.
He did.
So if you've got Jesus in your team, who was definitely flavour of the month a few weeks ago, he's now looking like he's going to be out for a little while. I haven't had an update on his injury, how bad it was.
Well, he looked in absolute agony when he was stretchered off. So it didn't really. It looked quite innocuous. I think he actually fouls Bruno as he injured himself. Don't know what he did, whether he landed on his his ankle, his knee, or his arm, or something. But he looked in agony and he was stretchered off. So that's not good. So it looks like Havertz could get the minutes. Looking at the fixtures, actually, just looking at their next two: home to Spurs, home to Villa. It's not bad, but I just think his other options, personally, is quite expensive.
Yeah, they seem to be. I think I heard the commentators mention it. I mean, they are becoming a bit of a set piece team. Arsenal.
They are absolutely.
Their goals from free kicks, corners, and penalties. So the open play goals. I think with Saka out of the team, they've just dried up a bit. So I don't think I'm really looking at Arsenal at the moment.
Declan Rice, he could have scored a hat-trick before when he came on earlier. I don't know if you saw. Unbelievable saves from Bayendia.
Incredible. Well, what was his name again? The United spare keeper?
Bayendia. He was useful. A hell of a save against Rice. Obviously saved 2 penalties as well. So he's very good.
And your new Turton keeper's not bad either, is he?
Kinski back-to-back clean sheets against Liverpool and Tamworth. But he looks very, very assured on his debut against Liverpool. Made some good saves, so quite excited about that. It'd be nice, and not get Forster out. Eze and Sarr mentioned. I've got Sarr. Eze obviously scored today in the FA Cup in a 1-0 win. They both got 20 points each. They are away to Leicester this week and away to West Ham the week after. So. Nice. Not really sure what to expect there, but getting rid of Sarr maybe a bit. I don't know. You get them for the run, don't you? You get them for the run, and then they don't return. Then you take them out, and that's when they return. That's when it hurts, doesn't it? Mbeumo is still in there, despite the fixtures at 20 points. Mateta, Solanke, Vissa all around 19, 20 points there, with Jackson, João Pedro, and Raul on the bottom with Gabriel. So they're the predicted points for the next 3 game weeks. I just wanted to touch on the assistant manager chip prices. So these were released. Was it yesterday or Friday? I think Rich.
Friday, I think. Yeah.
Friday, I think. Just a reminder to everyone that you can use this chip from game week 24 onwards. Obviously, Liverpool and Everton are highly likely to double in either 24 or 25. Just looking at the prices, Arteta, Maresca, Slot, Guardiola, and Howe are all 1.5 million. And then we go down Iriola, Hertzler, Silva, Nuno, Postecoglou, 1.1 million. That's like the second lot of prices there. I'm very surprised they went for four price points. I thought they would have had just like 1.5, 1 and 0.5 to make it easy.
I think that's quite a nice touch. And I think hopefully we might see some player prices next season at the sort of 4.8 or 5.7 or that kind of, have that level of granularity with the player pricing, because there is a difference between someone who's like, I don't know, 5'9" and 5'6". You can feel that difference in player, and I think if you put that intelligence in at the start, I think players will like it. So I'm all for that. I like that. But yeah, what about the bargain basement end of things?
I think there's some interesting ones. Like I say, we'll probably do a bit more detailed analysis over the coming week or two. But Emery, Frank, a 0.8. And then you've got Glasner and Amorim, who are definitely two who stand out to me as teams whose current league position probably belie their form and where they're going to end up. So I think they're very interesting there, because obviously you get the 10 extra points if your team beats a team that are 5+ places ahead of you. So they're two which stand out to me straight away. Pereira from Wolves, McKenna from Ipswich, Van Nistelrooy, Juric, and then the bottom two are interesting as well. So Potter at West Ham and Everton. Obviously Moyes in there now at 0.5. Those bottom two again, West Ham and Everton are they're very, very established Premier League teams who could reverse their fortunes quite quickly, couldn't they? Under Potter and Moyes, who are both fantastic managers. So
experienced managers, yeah.
I think from the cheaper end, I think Moyes, Potter, Amorim, and Glasner are probably the four on that side, which really interests me. I think on the other side, it's take your pick, really. They're all really good picks. They're all sort of on form. But yeah, in terms of strategy, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And it's very easy to say I'm going to pick Palace in 31 to 33, but that's such a way away. So many things can change. We've seen with United already. We wouldn't have touched Amorim with a barge pole 10 days ago, and now flavour of the month. So things can change incredibly quickly. So we will get on a couple of guests over the next week or two. We'll have Ben Crellin on in a couple of weeks, as well, and we'll touch on the various strategies and plans that we can make. What's your very early reads or thoughts, Rich?
Well, I think anybody that puts content or narratives out saying to back up that they're going for slot in 24 and 25, or they're going for game week 36 to 38 on an attack Forest strategy, or it's all going to change so much between now and then. I do think the chip has the potential to ruin someone's otherwise great season. You could be working to protect a rank or build a rank all season and be flying high in the top 20k, let's say, and all of a sudden you play that chip badly. You don't get the right 3 results from a team, because it's just a bet on a team, isn't it? Really,
it is. It's not the manager,
and it doesn't go right, and then some all around you, the other, a mass pick, let's say, does get it right, and you could lose 30-40 point swing based on that in the last few weeks. So I think it has the potential to cause mayhem. I think it has the potential to cause great deals of excitement, though, if it's going well, especially when these 10-point bonuses start dropping, and maybe someone manages to nail a couple of those in a 3 or 4 week sequence, or 4 game week sequence. It's too early to say whether I like it. I think there's a lot of variance involved in it, but I would just like to learn about it. I'm not going to play it in the first week. I just want to see how it goes, see what results it actually produces, see what content comes out around it, and the subsequent when the double game weeks and the blank game weeks start coming in, that will narrow down the bands of weeks that we could use.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I've seen some early content that says that, popular weeks will be game week 24 to 26, game week 31 to 33, or save it and play it at the end of the season in game week 36 to 38. Broadly speaking, those are the three windows that seem to be being talked about a lot, but there's no reason why you can't play it in another window to suit you, to suit your team, and play your chips how you want to play your chips. So, yeah, interesting. If you're up the top of the ranks, probably go slot. I would say, if you want to protect a rank and play safe with a team that's likely to win all three games. Otherwise, if you're gaining and coming from a long way back like me, you probably need to think about having a punt and getting some of those 10-point gains, because that's how you'll climb.
I think for me, if you've got the triple captain chip, it looks incredibly likely. 90% sure that Liverpool and Everton will double in 24 or 25. I think the triple captain on Salah gives you a nice bump in that period, because obviously a lot of people have already used it. People will be using other chips as well. But in that period between 24 and 25 as well is when we learn. We've got in a period of a week, haven't we? We've got the Carabao Cup semi-finals, which means blank 29 will be confirmed. We'll touch on that next. And we've also got the FA Cup fourth round as well, which will narrow down the options for the doubles and the blanks going forward in 30. So it feels to me like if you've got your triple captain chip, I would use that in 24 or 25 and then just learn. We'll learn so much pre-game at 25, and then we can properly start to plan out. We'll have so much more information about everything as well, right? It's not, again, it's these form of the teams, other things for me, which is so vital. You can't plan too far ahead because you just don't know what is going to happen with so many different things.
Can you remember, like last season, in the last few weeks, Crystal Palace would have been any team in the league. They were so good, weren't they? I think they won 5-0 on the last day of the season. We were all loading up on Eze. Exactly, yeah. No, they were brilliant, right?
Exactly that.
You don't see that at the moment. You can't see that at the moment. But there will be a team that emerges with a rich vein of form in the run-in. And they're the team to maybe, they might have a low league position and be playing teams in the top half. And all of a sudden, you've got maybe 2 to 3 opportunities where you can get those 10-point bonuses. So that's what you've got to look for. And you can't predict that content in game week 21.
And also, we mustn't forget as well that you can actually transfer managers in and out as well. So you can hop along. Like I say, you need to be finger on the pulse at the time to be able to do those things. So, but it's good to see them. It's good to get it. How I like to think about fantasy. I'm sure you're the game rich. These are just little pieces in the jigsaw puzzle that just put in the back of the head for the time being, so that you know how much the managers are, and kind of when we can use them, and it's just there now. So when things happen, you can just quickly call on them and say, "Ooh." And get that edge, take that opportunity to go, I think, it's a good opportunity to play so-and-so here or whatever else. So interesting stuff. Yep. And we just wanted to touch briefly on what we know now about the Gameweek 29 blank projections, because obviously we had the 2 games last week, which was it after we it was after we podded last.
It was.
Wasn't it? Newcastle beat Arsenal away, quite surprisingly, I think 2-0. So it looks like Newcastle have now got an 84.3% chance of reaching the Carabao Cup final and therefore blanking against Crystal Palace. You mentioned earlier it's Newcastle and Palace. We don't want 6 of those players going to 29 unless we're going to free hit. And Liverpool. So even though Liverpool lost 1-0, they are still a 62% chance to progress, according to Ben Crellin, obviously.
Yeah, that one feels like a 50. Well, you're a Spurs fan. What do you think your chances are?
I think they're about right, mate. I think 60-40 is about right. Still in Liverpool's favour. We're gonna. Yeah. It's gonna be such a hard game. We rode. Spurs rode their luck. They haven't had a lot of luck in places. I mean, the injuries Spurs are getting are just absolutely insane. Just completely. It's nice. It's just nice though, right? Because when Newcastle had all those injuries last year, United get injuries, all these, and everyone's we feel so sorry. When Spurs with all these injuries, you don't see Spurs, but we've got all these injuries. We just get on with it with a back 4 of Pedro Porro, Dragusin, Archie Gray, and Jed Spence, and Fraser Forster in goal. Over this last 2 or 3 weeks, I know we've got Kinski now and whatever else, but get on with it, crack on, and go and put in a result like that. It was absolutely sensational with Kinski. He only signed like 2 days earlier. He was a clean sheet against Liverpool. So, but yeah, I still think Liverpool will get through. Or are we seeing a bit of a turn of a Liverpool blip? The last 2 games, drawn and lost. I think it's the first time they haven't won in 2 games since Slaughter's been as well. So I don't know if we can call it a mini blip yet. Away to Forest to be tough midweek. If Forest do a job on them, then Liverpool could hit that little blip that most teams have throughout the season.
Man City rut. I mean, exactly I wouldn't call it a rut. City went through a rut, but they're coming out of it. I think they scored 8 yesterday, didn't they? City are recovering, but yeah, Liverpool is. I don't think it's going to be plain sailing for Liverpool. I would say I'd put it at about 50-50 that you guys can box a draw in that second leg and get through. And I think it would mean a lot to Tottenham fans to make the final.
I'm trying to think. The last time we made the final, I can't even remember. I know the last time we won was 2008, and that was the Worthington Cup at the time. I think it was, or the wherever it was.
Jonathan Woodgate.
Littlewoods Cup, or the Milk Cup as it was known all those years ago. But if you go by the odds at the moment, it looks like Newcastle, Palace, Aston Villa, Liverpool, who we've got, between, if you think about how many assets we've got of those teams at the moment.
God, there's about 9 assets.
Exactly.
7 or 8.
That looks the way it might go, but we will know all pre-game week 25, which is why, we can't really do much with the information now. But again, it's just good, put it in the back of the head, and crack on. Quick look at the Hub AI Game Week 21 Wildcard team. Some interesting picks in here. We've mentioned a few of them already. Robert Sanchez in goal for Chelsea with Valdemarson just as the 3.9 backup. Back 5 then of Trent, still likes Trent, Gabriel, Munoz, Milenkovic for Forest, and Burgess, who's a 4 million defender. It's then got Palmer, Salah, Ismail Assar is still in there. Ahmad is in there as well at 5.4 with Tyler Diblin as the 4.5. And then a front 3 then of Isak, Mateta. We hadn't touched on Mateta actually, Rich. We were asking about forwards. So Isak, Mateta and Wood are the preferred front 3. So triple Palace there, which is interesting.
They're not worried. Hub AI team's not worried about game week 29, is it?
No, it's absolutely.
Hub AI team's got a free hit.
It's absolutely not at the moment. But interesting looking at that. I think they're the ones that I haven't got. Munoz really interests me. He looks so dangerous every time he plays. Ahmad's.
I hope so, mate. I think haven't done anything yet.
I think Ahmad's an interesting one if I can't go for Bruno. Mateta's interesting. But yeah, Leicester away and West Ham away. I'm happy to hold Wood still. I don't know if I'll play. We'll look at our teams. I don't know if I'll play against Liverpool. I probably will. They're just so good, Forest. They're just so good.
Just gets a goal a game, doesn't he?
He does.
Pretty much.
So that is the current Hub AI Game Week 20 wildcard team. As, the doubles start, begin to get confirmed for 24, 25, etc., etc. This will obviously update in line with all those as well. Captain for this week. Interesting chat this week, Rich. Yes. It's a real tough one. If we look at predicted points from Fantasy Football Hub, Palmer comes up top, only just 7.6 points home to Bournemouth. Isak comes out second, 7.4, and Salah 7.2 away to Forest. They're the top 3. Then Haaland comes out away to Brentford, and then you take a bit of a step down to Bruno, Cunha, and Gordon. Look at the polls, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Top is Isak with 45%, Salah second, 30%, Palmer only 12%, and Bruno 5% there. So, yeah, well, I haven't given a lot of thought yet, right? As I say, I've had Carabao and FA Cup fever. But what's your think at the moment on captaincy?
All right, I like Isak. I think the form is there, the fixture is there. Wolves have been pretty leaky. I know they've got Cunha back, so they could score. So not too worried about that from an Isak's perspective. But I think it's a comfortable win for Newcastle. I think they'll have too much for Wolves, and I think it is a good week to take on the Salah stronghold on the captaincy. I
Agree.
looked at Salah's. I started going back through Salah's numbers to find out when he last blanked, and I think it was game week 7.
Wow.
So in game week 21. I mean, that is astonishing.
It is.
I think he had a week where he didn't score and he got an assist, I think, a few weeks back. But I mean, I've only had him since got him really late, like game week 13, 14, something like that. And like I've just been captaining him every week, but my rank's been going up. I think if you want to keep on playing it safe, then Salah is still a completely legitimate pick. He's done nothing to warrant leaving him to go for something with a better fixture. But yeah, Palmer and Isak are great alternatives. And if you want to be really punty, then Bruno at home to Southampton. Yeah.
Agree. I think
he's only had one, I think 2 double figure hauls this season, 1 17-pointer, I think, a few weeks back, which I didn't own him for. But he could deliver the goods against Southampton. You can see him getting a penalty and a goal and an assist and a big haul against Southampton.
Scared him this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good Isak as well, home to Wolves. I think the fact that Liverpool, like I say, it's shown you can't call it a blip. Two results against 2 very good teams. But I think Salah's only had 1 shot on target combined in the last 2 games, and that was the penalty, I think.
Right.
I don't think he had much against Spurs either. Away to Forest is probably, at the moment, I would say, as tough as it comes from an attacking view as well. And the fact that, as you say, Isak on form, Wolves very leaky. The only concern potentially is that he did have a knock, didn't he, last week, and he was subsequently rested this weekend. Completely wasn't in the squad, Isak. So just need to keep an eye on that. He had a knock in the Arsenal game in the Carabao.
And that's
so
one
just
of
need to
those
keep an
ones
eye
where
on that,
if you've got put an equal amount of thought into the vice captaincy. And if he doesn't, it sounds to me like it's one. If he has got a problem, he would just miss
saying exactly that.
He'd be on the bench. He would miss out, and it would be a bit of a shock, and you'd have to go to your vice. So, if you're like me and you've got a massive bench headache this weekend, it's not that worrying. It's not about you sort of going. I don't know. End up having Jacob Greaves coming on or anything. It's just basically.
He's been on fire recently, mate. As soon as we take him out, he turns a corner.
He started playing as soon as I saw
another
him.
clean sheet this afternoon for Ipswich as well.
No, he didn't play though. He was rested.
He's rested,
he
was
didn't
he?
Play, so, yeah.
Rested for his clean sheet midweek.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, but there is a slight doubt with Isak starting. The only other thing is that if you've got 3 Newcastle players already, you're playing Hall, you're playing Gordon, you're playing Isak, you really are going all in on Newcastle if you're going to captain as well. And all of a sudden they don't put a performance in and they lose to Wolves, you're not going to get a green arrow.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's just one thing: is your triple up enough to allow you to put the captaincy on someone else? It's all about the balance of where the points come on, I think. So Palmer, I just think Bournemouth could get a draw against Chelsea.
I think so. I think
I'm just going to pick the player with where the victory is most likely.
Agree. Let us know in the chat who you're going to be captaining. It's a very, very open one this week. Really, really good to discuss. Fergie is a punt for Game Week 21. So I picked out a pretty, random, but I went for Harry Wilson last week, Rich, and he got an assist. He got an assist for the penalty, and I think he was lucky not to get another one. So I was quite happy with that one as a punt he returned. My punt this week, 3.7% owned. And in the last couple of games, this guy's form is absolutely ridiculous. 1 goal and 4 assists in his last 3 games. In the stats we're going to show us in 4 games, he's had 11 shots, 5 on target, 9 shots in the box, and he's really turned the corner. And this team, they've been struggling slightly. They've got 2 nice away games to attack now, and I think that this player could, at a differential point anyway, do some damage and get some real points in these next 2 games. So he's a 6.5 million midfielder. That's the final clue, and my pick for Fergie as a punt for Game Week 21, roll into 22 as well, is Savinho, who has looked very, very good over these last couple of weeks. I say quite ridiculous stats, and actually top of the attacking stats if you look over the last 2 game weeks. superb. So yeah, I really, really like him, and I think he is a real punt at 3.7. So away to Brentford, away to Ipswich. I think he'll definitely play. After that, the fixtures turn. They get Chelsea, Arsenal, and Newcastle. But if you are looking for something in the short term, I really like Savinho as a punt. Any thoughts here, Rich? Cheap, very cheap.
No, I just haven't. I don't know whether anyone in the chat feels the same. I've just sort of almost forgotten that City exist.
I know exactly what you mean.
Does that make sense?
It does.
It's just coming off.
It's because they're all overpriced. It's because they're all overpriced, aren't they? That's the thing.
And they don't, they don't keep many clean sheets. They're still rotating in most of the positions. Although maybe if you've still got Rico Lewis, now Carl Walker wants to leave the club. Lewis is probably fine to hold, as a fourth defender or something, But I just not even really considering them, and that's my reaction to that. And it just seems bizarre, doesn't it? Because you used to have 3 City in your team,
Absolutely.
So that's just how I feel at the moment. Yeah, but he's doing well, and I do think they're still going to get top 4 City, I think. So fine. Yeah, if you want a differential, good pick.
6.5 million, I think he's cheap. If he was like 8 million or something, I wouldn't go near him. I do think for 6.5, he's a fairly decent option. 3.7% as well. So looks very, very good. Just before we take a look at our teams for the coming game week, it's going to be a good chat on that. I really need your help, Rich. I'm really, really stuck on mine, but don't forget, we have a 30-day free trial offer, but it is expiring at the Gaming 21 deadline, which is in less than 48 hours. What's it now? Well, 47 hours time. If you want to use the full power of Fantasy Football Hub, you can do so now for a full 30 days free. So that will take you to, what's the date, Rich? The 12th of January. It'll take you to the 11th of February, which will also cover all this up to Game Week 25, and we're going to find out, all this really interesting stuff about the Carabao and the FA Cup stuff. So you'll get free access to the site for all that period. It includes our My Team features, recommended transfers, predicted points through AI, dedicated WhatsApp groups for pro members, and so much more. It's all on the app too. An absolute no-brainer if you want to do well at FPL. Free for 30 days, but it does expire in 47 hours now. So click the top link below and jump on. It's absolutely superb. And it's great to be part of an amazing community as well. We got now 350,000 members. It's absolutely fantastic to be a part of it, and long may it continue. And thank you so much to all our members who do subscribe. Let's have a look, Rich, at your team. Wow, I can't believe it. Absolutely ridiculous. You've got a 98% team rating. You've got a 99% game week rating. Absolutely crazy. And just looking at your team, I'm just so jealous. Do you want to run us through it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, to quote you, in goals, I'll have Raya in goals. At the back, I may not set up this way because I've actually got 4 defenders that I want to play, and I don't want to bench any of them. So Trent, Gabriel, Munoz, and Hall, I want to play all of them. So if I have to bench one and play with 7 attackers, I've got a real decision to make, because I can't bench Munoz away to Leicester, can I?
Well, you're currently benching Rogers, mate, who's been on fire as well.
Hall against Wolves. I mean, the midfield picks itself with Palmer, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and Anthony Gordon. Up front, Isak is the possible captain. Raul is away to West Ham, which isn't a brilliant fixture, but it's not a bad fixture given West Ham's defence. And João Pedro is almost a convenient injury doubt.
I was going to say, it might be convenient for
Brighton.
You almost want Isak out as well.
Well, that's right. Rogers is very playable as well, away to Everton. Mikalenko has a home game against Aston Villa. So the bench boost's not out of the question here, is it? If you think about it.
Even Fabianski, if he's back.
Fabianski, Rogers, Hall, and Mikalenko could bench boost it. I mean, I probably won't, because I'll end up having double game week FOMO and not doing it. But there could be 20 points there from that bench boost, couldn't there? Quite easily.
I think it's going to be 20 points on your bench, mate. Sadly, you're going to get because you don't know where the points are coming from. There, do you? They come from anywhere.
No, I won't surprise anyone that I'm rolling. after my sermon about saving transfers, I think basically I will definitely be saving a transfer this week, and probably at the moment I'll risk João Pedro being a bit of a doubt, drop him to the bench, and play 4-4-2 with both Munoz and Hall.
Incredible teammate. I'm very, very jealous.
And if someone misses out, like Isak or Trent or whatever, then hopefully I'll get someone off the bench for some points. But yeah, I'm very happy with it, and hopefully another green.
I tell you who else is happy with it, mate. Hub AI, right? So we've got your optimized manager profile here. Recommends you save this week, which, in all fairness, optimized, it does that when you've got a good team. You go to your aggressive manager profile, Rich, and your aggressive manager profile also says we recommend making no transfer this week. And this is where it really looks at the short, almost like the next game, and saying, what can we do to get you more points this week? How can you improve your team? We recommend no transfer, which I've never seen for an aggressive profile. So absolutely insane, mate.
When I come back on next week with 30 points,
yeah, this is it. It's the way
we'll have a good laugh, shall we?
Yes, superb stuff, mate.
Thank you.
My team is now on screen. I've got a team rating of 98, Gameweek rating of 98. So mine is, still, really, really good. Or it's looking good. We got different-ish teams. Pickford in goal. Got Villa. I have it's telling me to play Gabriel, Trent. I still got Timber. I have got Robinson and Lewis. So I haven't given this a great deal of thought yet. I do want Hall, and I want him this week. Yeah. Because I do think that the Wolves game is a great one to get him in. And the last few times I've watched Hall, he's frightened the life out of me. So I think I'm going to do, I'm not 100% yet, Timber to Hall, which will also free up 0.8, which will give me 2 million in the bank. I've got another free transfer as well. So at the moment, my front seven is Palmer, Salah, Sarr, Mbuemo, Isak, João Pedro, and Wood. So a couple of them got tricky fixtures here, but they are in form. This whole Wood and Mbuemo thing, right? I mean, they just keep scoring nearly every week. Like, dare I take him out? Dare I even drop him? I'm just not sure. I've also got Rodgers on the bench as well. But I would love Bruno Fernandes. Now, I can't get to him from Sarr, even if I do Timber down to Hull. I think I should play Sarr anyway. The only way I get to Bruno is if I go from Mbuemo, which I don't know.
How much did you buy Mbuemo for?
Oh, I have no idea. I got him early, like game week 6.
Like 7.2.
Game week 6, I got him. So he was 7.1. So I've got quite a lot locked in there. I think. I'm not. I gotta be honest. I'm not really that bothered.
I think with a home game, although it's City, I wouldn't worry about the fixture. I mean, City almost always concede.
They do. And Brentford are good against City as well. I think they've beaten them a couple times over the years, haven't they? My other option is to potentially do something like Sarr to Ahmad, which I quite like Ahmad anyway. But he's no Bruno, and also, Sarr in his own right has got, he's got 3, I think, really good attacking fixtures coming up. Away to Leicester, away to West Ham, home to Brentford, which are all good fixtures. So
how many transfers have you got in the bank?
I've got 2.
Okay. Good go. Because you go Timber to Hall, Sarr to Ahmed, and Mbuemo to Fernandes.
I think that would be really close. I think that would be about right, actually. I don't know if I want double Man United midfield because it's only the one game really I'm really excited about. Southampton, that's the only game which I really want. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to think longer term, right? It's not just because again what we did last year is just gone, I won that game, I won it, won for that game, and
wang moment,
wang. So I'm trying to think longer term. So I mean I've got a good team. Even my bench is Rodgers, Robinson, and Lewis. You've got
to give Sarr the Leicester.
I think I have to. I think I have to. So I think I might just leave it. I think I do want to do Timber out to Hall. I like that move. Say I'll roll it. It gives me 1 transfer left. Gives me 2 million in the bank then to have a look over the next few weeks. I think. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to have to leave the midfield. I mean, it's not a bad midfield. Sarr away to Leicester and Mbuemo home to City is all right. It's just not Bruno and whatever else is it. So Munoz. But there we go.
Well, nice problems to have. And if you do, you still got 2 next week. If you just could do the Hall transfer.
Exactly.
I like the Hall transfer.
That's what I'm thinking. my optimized recommended transfer this week is to say for the sake, because I have got a good team, 98%. This is interesting. My aggressive transfers: Mbeumo to Bruno, Rodgers to Ahmad, which is more or less what you said. So that's saying that's the upside this week alone. Is that so? Interesting there.
Two United feels a little bit like too much based on them suddenly becoming invincible.
I think so.
They're looking better, but they're just
if they were home to Brighton this week, they didn't have the Southampton game, I don't even think I'd really be looking at me. I wouldn't get that excited, but it's just this one game. Interesting. There's been a fair bit of chat just around Dubravka in the chat, obviously, because Newcastle, I think he's kept 5 clean sheets in 7 games, excluding today in the FA Cup. Obviously, they conceded against Bromley. I did see I don't know if you saw it, Rich. I completely missed it until like Friday.
He basically left. He was waving goodbye to the fans. There was something came out about him going to Saudi.
Yeah,
and then he played in the cup.
Cup. So I saw on Friday that Eddie Howe had basically asked the board and asked him, like, we really want you to stay. We really want you to stay. I mean, he is a fantastic keeper. He's always been a good keeper. In the Premier League, there was rumours that James Trafford was going to come in for them, but
okay. Well, Pope can't be ready. Then.
Well, I think Pope is potentially back in the next week or two. I think he's training, but he's not in sort of full contact match conditions training. So I still think Dubravka has got like a week or two in him. I wouldn't bring him back. I wouldn't bring him in, especially when the transfer window's open. He's basically packed his bags, was off to Saudi. And also the fact that Pope is due back almost any game now, so I don't think he's an option. I think he, I think if you bought him, he could get you a clean sheet or 2 in the next 2. But I think he quickly loses place. He'd lose his place.
I know we play this sleeper in this sleeper league. I've got both Dubravka and Pope in sleeper, and I'm just waiting for the resolution of this so I can actually make another move. But I'm a bit stuck with both of them at the moment. So No, he's not a buy, Dubravka. No. He's off. He's on his way in January. So good keeper, though.
Agree.
Done very well.
But that is it for this week. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined us on this Sunday evening. We really, really appreciate that you have joined us. This 48 hours-ish, 47 hours until the deadline. So plenty to think about. Twist the heads back on, twist the bulb back into the FPL mode after a crazy week of Carabao and FA Cup stuff. Obviously, Rich, because I play the other fantasy games, I've had to put so much thought into those over this last week because Carabao and FA Cup are included in those games.
They'll count,
exactly. So trying to get my head back to what happened 10 days in FPL, I find it quite tough. But looks like I'm in a pretty good spot. Looks like you're in an excellent spot. So hopefully the Green Arrows continue. You'll be going for your 6th consecutive. I'll be going for my 7th consecutive. A green would be nice.
I want to be in the top million. I was in the top million temporarily before Chris Wood scored, and then that ruined it for me.
Good old Woody.
So hopefully next week we've got a 6-figure rank to put on the screen rather than a 7-figure one. But fingers crossed, and not long till the next one now. We'll be back Thursday, won't we?
We will. So, just want to say thanks to everyone who joined us in the chat. Those going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast versions, your support is very, very much appreciated. Thank you, Rich. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on X and Blue Sky.
My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergi. And this podcast and video will be the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button if you haven't already. And remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen on the podcast version, please rate it and leave a comment. Give us 5 stars in the comment. We would really, really, really appreciate it. We will be back this coming Thursday, so that's only 4 days. We'll be back in 4 days. We'll likely have a guest on as well, which would be nice. Looking ahead to Gameweek 22, we'll chat a little bit more about, chip strategy potentially, but we will slowly build it. We don't want to kind of overdo it too early and get same repetitive, boring hypotheticals every single week. So we will sort of build up towards it. But we will touch on it in a bit more detail. In the meantime, we hope you have a fantastic Gaming 21 and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.